your society and see that there are people that make more money and more rewarded for their gifts, not because they are more hardworking or they have more value to offer. It is mostly because they are well positioned. For instance, a manager might be paid more than one of the foot soldiers in the company, not because they do more work, or even because they are more hardworking. No, it's because based on positioning, the manager's role attracts more reward. And you might say, well, the manager might provide more value than the other employers, like the cleaners and a lot of people. But reward does not always follow value. I like to give this simple example of local chieftains. Most of them do not provide any value to society, but most of them are rich and they attract a lot of reward. Why is that? It's because they are positioned in a place in a society where wealth comes to them, whether it's because of the political campaigns or the simple, um, for the sole purpose that they are the main authorities when you want to access their community. This gives them more reward. I've seen people who did not do any work in a land deal get a lot of reward. Why? Because you are there in the right time. So I will talk to you about positioning. First way to position yourself. Last week we spoke about the foundations of wealth creation, which is learning how to harness your mind, relationships, and time. But when it comes to positioning, I'll give you 8 simple ways to position yourself. Number one way to position yourself is position yourself through value creation. Like I said, value creation is not the core component of wealth creation, but it is one way to position yourself where wealth can come to you. In fact, I would define wealth creation as positioning yourself in the cycle of an economy. One way to put yourself in a proper cycle of the economy where money comes to you is to provide service to another person in exchange for reward. But I want to remind you that as important as it is only a given. Sometimes when we say wealth creation is about value creation, what happens if everybody is providing value? What distinguishes people? People that are providing value but not getting rewarded. Mostly it's because they lack positioning. So you need to go further than just the positioning that wealth creation gives you. Another way to position yourself is to position yourself in the mind of your customers. Everyone you meet already puts you in a place in their mind. They judge you from your appearance, from your conversation. And one of the ways to increase your chances of creating wealth is whoever you meet, you must be so intentional about creating an impression. In fact, you must decide before you go out, if I meet people today, what kind of impression do I want to give out? What kind of position do I want to be in their mind? Do I want to position as someone that they can't do business with, or someone that is only worthy of small reward? And some of the ways that businesses and even individuals position themselves in the mind of people is through branding. They take branding seriously, not because they have to do business with everybody, but they are so intentional about crafting their brand message so that they've already done. Someone is selling by the roadside. It might be the same kind of clothes, but this environment places them somewhere in your mind that you're willing to negotiate and buy it for peanuts. But other people who carry the same product just organize a place. What they are trying to do is they're trying to position themselves in your mind in a way that it will be favorable for a transaction where they will be rewarded more. I want you to see yourself that before any transaction happens, people pass a value judgment on you based on how you look, based on how you speak, based on how you carry yourself. You must be intentional as part in your journey of positioning yourself in the mind of people to tell yourself, when I meet this person, I want him to know that I'm someone that they can do $100 million business with. Positioning yourself in the mind of people is important. It takes intentional step. That's why personal development is a very important part of education. Why? Because the way your conversations, your behavior, all of they say social media is the new CV. People, if they go through social media, what do they think about you? You have to know what the pieces that moves people to bring out their money to reward you. There are certain ways that if you dress and you go and sell a property, People always want to negotiate how much they give you for your agency or stuff like that. But there are certain ways that if you package yourself and present yourself, people will not negotiate your value. So position yourself in the mind of people is one of the ways to position yourself for wealth creation. It does not matter your value. If people do not think you are deserving of certain amount, they will always negotiate your value. Make the journey, make the decision easy for them by deciding that whoever I meet, I will make sure that I leave a great opinion about myself in their mind. And like I said, it doesn't have to only be in personal interaction. It can also be from what you do on social media, from your general marketing. Position yourself favorably, whether it's your business or yourselves, in the mind of others. Another way and this, the third way of to position yourself in wealth creation is put yourself in high value activities. There are certain environments that attract high that carries more potential business. Can still be a golf course, a polo course. I was reading a Forbes article where they said parents are now deciding the hobbies of their children. And most of them are training their children early on to learn how to play golf, how to play tennis, how to play. In fact, you can even see the kind of brands that advertise in this type of event, because it is understood that only high value people patronize these types of events. Rolex does not advertise on football games, but they advertise in lawn tennis, in F1. These are games that attract high net worth individuals. If you want to find where money is, find where high value human activities are carried on. Because remember, wealth creation is about positioning yourself in the flow of the economy. If money is concentrated somewhere, go to that place. Sometimes executives MBA might attract certain types of people that you do business with. You must understand that there are strategic steps that you can carry that will benefit you. So sometimes go for an MBA in an Ivy League school, not necessarily even because of what you will learn alone, but because of the relationships you will make. There are studies like this that said students that go to Ivy League schools are more successful, not necessarily because the Ivy League schools teach better, but mainly because in fact, the simple fact that you can afford an Ivy League school shows that you are from a privileged environment, and relationships like this opens you up to some of the best opportunities in the world. Ask yourself, how can I put myself in high value communities? Is there a conference going on? Go out there, interact with people, network with people. If you are selling land, there are certain programs, there are certain events that, particularly if you're wise, they will not attract you. You curate your activities based on your aspirations. So if you want to position yourself, consider where are the high value corners, circles of activity. Is it sport? Is it a gathering? Consider going there. Now, you can also position yourself. The fourth way to position yourself is in high value geographies. If you are into tech, chances are you will find more success in places like Lagos, which is the financial capital of Africa. There are certain places that have tech ecosystem that will support you. Why? Because it is understood that there people that are looking for businesses, in fact, they are looking for complementary service, are looking for software engineers, are looking for tech companies. They are found there. So geography can play a very huge part in your positioning. There's a reason why there's a lot of rural urban migration. Why? Because people understand that there are certain opportunities that do not exist in rural environments. You must ask yourself, where do I need to be to thrive? Now, I understand that sometimes geography does not determine everywhere. Sometimes going to where most of the people are not might be a strategy in its own self. But you must first consider that, first of all, there's always an edge in going to where um, what I want to do is concentrated. There's a reason why you see people that sell car parts are gathered in one place, because collectively it's better for business. I know most of the times you say run away from competition, but it doesn't always work like that. Concentration gives you visibility. If you go to where what you do is not concentrated, chances are you get lost. People will not look for you there. But it's so easier to come to clusters of people that already do what you do. People that want to go into acting, especially in the Western world, they think of going to Hollywood, to California. Why? Because that's where the opportunities flourishes. There's a lot of studios, there's a lot of agents, there's a lot of multi-production that is happening there. If you want to position yourself, ask yourself, where is the geography where my business, my trade is concentrated? And consider, at least, even if you're not going to move, find a way of, especially with technology, of finding opportunities in those areas. Now, even in investment, there's a way you can apply geographical advantages. For instance, if you're in Nigeria and you want to consider investments in agriculture, now, the north is the place to go. There's no two ways about it. The north is where agriculture happens. If you're thinking of going into agriculture, consider partnering with local people in the north or moving to the north. Things are cheaper here. I'm not saying that there is no way that business can be similar agricultural opportunities cannot be done in other parts of Nigeria. But we must understand environmental advantages people have. I understand that there's a tech boom happening in Africa, and a lot of people are rushing to it. But I will tell you that our advantage in Africa is not tech. It is that there is a lot of gap in infrastructure. Some of the biggest opportunities in Africa are not technology, they are infrastructure development. That's why a lot of contracts. So a single contract you can get in for infrastructure development, you can't get it in 10 years of some businesses. So why? Because Africa, our disadvantage, in Nigeria, in our disadvantage, there's opportunity. So sometimes you look at the geography and say, okay, what do these people lack, or what do these people excel in? And position yourself in that place. I will bring this product. I would exploit this product. In Africa, if you are thinking of advantages that Nigeria has or Africa has, think of mining. Comparative advantage is the idea that one region does better in certain things than another place. And you understand that all the excitement that Africa is going to technology, but that's not our comparative advantage at this stage. At this stage, our advantage is in mining, is in agriculture, is in infrastructure development. We understand that other opportunities can exist in tech, but consider geographically, how do I position myself in this place? What is their own edge? What is their own advantage? You see how positioning plays a bigger role in wealth creation. People that have discovered that in this place that this advantage excels more, they get more reward for their businesses. I understand that tech are booming, but tech money does not even come close to money that people make in mining, in agriculture in Africa, because that is our own area of advantage. And to be foolish to go to some parts of the world like China and say you want to focus on farming. China excel in manufacturing. So what they do is carry the product and take them there to refine them. Each area has their comparative advantage. If you want to position yourself in a particular area, ask yourself, what's the comparative advantage of this place, of the geography? Now, the next way to position yourself is position yourselves based on the times and seasons of your age, of your generation. I've always said that in our time and age, it's about clean energy, it's about technology, it's about AI, it's about globalization, social media. Whatever you are doing, you find ways to leverage these tools. It does not matter what business you are doing, you must have an online presence to thrive. It does not matter whether you are farming, bringing technology into it. Whoever functions outside the operations of their own times will always be left behind. Imagine in the Bronze Age, someone is still in the Stone Age. Times change. You must evolve that whatever you're doing, you must use the tools of your time. I like what Gary Vee said. He said, as far back as 2019, he was making a comment about social media. He said, if you're not into content creation and social media 5 years ago, that's around 2014, you would have think that, oh, you're just naive, you're just cute. But he said, that's as of 2020. If you're not into content creation and social media as of 2019, that's gross negligence as a business person. Because times are changing. You either adapt or you die. One of the ways you can position yourself for relevance is Ask yourself, where is the world going to? Where is the world? Where is the world now? So I'll position myself based on the opportunities. The idea that education gives you an edge in the world, it still works, but it's still a archaic concept. It apparently gives you the edge in this time and age. The traditional job is not the system that works in these times. Just because it worked for a generation before now, don't think that it will work for you. You must find out what are my own unique times. Perhaps I'm an author, I'm a published author. This is my book, Purposepreneur. I publish and I intend to publishing many books. But I understand that this age, books are not the main system of learning. I must learn how to transmit knowledge through or via this live programs or through social media. Understanding that times are changing. I must find creative ways to adapt the same value that others pass through books. I must find a way of passing that same value through another means that is prevalent in our own time. You can be a preacher, you can be a motivational speaker, you can be an expert in anything. If you're going to wait to transmit your knowledge through books, you're already operating on old systems. The new system is take your knowledge on video and put it out there. Now, understand that to position yourself with technology, it might cause a lot of discomfort and changes, but this change it takes growing. That is one of the ways to position yourself with technology. Ask yourself, these are the times that we're in. Now, with globalization, you can travel very fast anywhere you want across the world. But if you are still functioning on the way things were 100 years ago, you still be using a donkey. Now, technology has given us access to talk to people across the world. It does not matter. If you are doing business, find opportunities globally beyond the limits of geographical boundaries. Technology gives us access. Temu is coming into Africa not because they are physically here, but because what? They are leveraging technology. They're even putting indigenous African e-commerce company out of business. Why? Because they are taking the technology very serious. Now, I'll even the next position I'll talk about is even leveraging um, wealth systems like economies of scale. And that's why, but before I jump into that, that's why also Temu is thriving. They can produce things very cheaply, and that's why they are at competing local African companies because they can't produce it cheaply and they can't compete. So position yourself based on the tools of your time. If in fact the tools of your time is defined by what we use. In the Stone Age, people use stone. In the Bronze Age, people use bronze. We are in the information age, in the digital age. That means information and digital tools are what we use to thrive in our own times. Especially with AI, you can leverage a lot of things. I'm into business consulting, and I know how AI has made a lot of things easy for me. There are a lot of strategies that I know that AI can give me, but it organizes my thoughts properly. It gives me structure in order to put my thoughts in. In fact, it creates mental space for me. If you are thinking of what are the tools of my time, or how can I position myself based on the times and season that I am, you must have an understanding of things like AI, of technology, of social media, of globalization. In fact, there's even a move of the system of money from fiscal money, fiat money into cryptocurrency. These are all things of the future. You must position yourself properly. In fact, one of the proofs that the positioning based on times and season can give you some of the biggest reward. Check the richest men of each generation. You discover that they were the business leaders in the new innovation of the times. At a particular time when it was oil, the Rockefellers were rich. When it was maybe before the oil time, it was the train barons. At a particular time, the force of the world, like the Ford company, when the world was introduced to automobiles, they became the richest people, or some of the richest people. Even now, some of the richest people in the world are people in in clean energy, Tesla, in AI, in information technology, the Google, people that own Google, digital softwares. These are the things of our time that whatever you're doing, find a way of leveraging them or going into those industries. In fact, that's one of the best ways to position yourselves for wealth creation. Ask yourself, where is the world going into, and wait for the world there. That's why sometimes starting too early is not a bad idea. So position yourself in based on the times and seasons. But then I'll also talk about leveraging yourself based on positioning by leveraging wealth systems. What are other wealth systems? Economies of scale. If you can produce something in large quantity, chances are you put others out of business. What are the other systems of wealth creation? Using other people's money, looking for investment. I've seen rich people advise people to grow organically, to grow, but they did not grow that way. If you have an idea, if you have a business, look for financial partnership. Rich people borrow a lot from banks. They look for a lot of investment. As a matter of fact, taking a company public is a way of raising resources. Don't allow people that play with a different rule, advise you to play by certain rules that will not benefit you. Looking for investment, other people's money in context, whether it's loans or investment. These are things that gives you an edge, whether it's economies of scale. And these are some of the economic laws. Other wealth systems is political partnerships, lobbying. These are things that are not available to the mere man because they don't understand the rules. Tax breaks. These are all wealth systems that the rich use. In fact, the rich sometimes will not mind taking their business to the jurisdiction where they don't pay tax because they're looking for systems. How can I use the systems to benefit me? It is positioning based on wealth creation systems. Find them. We'll be having we'll be launching our first Masters of Industry. So I want to give people an MBA education. These are ways that want to expose people to wealth systems that will help them. Most Nigerians or Africans do business without this knowledge, and that's why they remain small. You need to understand how to raise money. You need to understand risk management, business structures. Most African companies do not even have sufficient structures for investors. Most of the times, their business is still operating like a sole proprietorship. But if you really want to grow, you must put these structures in place so that you can be able to attract investors. It is a journey. You must decide that there are wealth systems that are available for you. They're not available just for the rich. You can find ways to leverage it. And then another way to position yourself is through action. That is by doing. There are certain opportunities that are only available for people who have started. Sometimes the proof of you starting can simply be you. That already puts you in a category about failing. Just go out there and start. Someone that starts, at least they have a chance of succeeding, but someone that does not start, the side of succeeding and still zero. It's just register the company, but start posting about what you do. You look back and say, oh, I've been in this thing for a year, for 2 years. For some people, some investors or business partners, the fact that you started something years ago, it shows that you're already ahead. In fact, if you are considering investment, I'm thinking of your expertise. Someone that just started it last year and someone that has been doing it for the last 3 years. Of course, more weight to be given to someone that has been at it longer. That's why starting now would give you an edge. It does not matter whether you succeed now. Starting already positions you above others. There are people that they don't have corporate accounts. It shows that they've not started in a certain direction. Just take action. The simple idea of having a website is an indication that you've started. You've done something that has put you above other people. So if you want to position yourself in certain ways, think of taking action now. If you want to position yourself in the technology industry, don't say that I'll do it in 5 years. If you start now, you're already in the fold. Opportunities can come to you. And then I also want to talk about positioning yourself in high value corners or high value industries. The average person, if you ask them what kind of opportunities they want to pursue, they're thinking about jobs. I don't have anything against jobs. They're thinking about fashion. They're thinking about low value industries. I know that most of this by low value does not mean that you cannot pay your bills. It can. but there's not so much wealth in it. Not many people say, I want to go into the oil industry, I want to go into finance. Young people, but we need to start thinking, okay, how can I position myself in some of the high value industries? Is it fintech? Is it the normal banking? Ask yourself, how can I position myself? Real estate. I know you're too young to start. I've seen people, in their early 20s start their real estate company. Nobody will stop you. Nobody will beat you. You can wake up tomorrow and say, I want to be in this business and start your distribution business. To close, you can reap from it tomorrow. That is what it means to sow. That our that is what it means to sow. That our actions today gives us a better position tomorrow. So the way you position yourself by sowing is you can sow in education, in building expertise. You can sow in relationships. There are certain people, you have to play the strategic game. What actions am I taking today that will give me a return in the next 5, 10 years? You have to think long term. That's one of the wealth mindset. When I was talking about last week, when I was talking about wealth creation 101, I was talking about the foundations. I was talking about the wealth mindset that rich people think long term. They think, okay, how can I sow today? They see people with potential and they say, okay, how can I compete with what you do? Because they understand there's business in the future. Some of the big companies, they understand this. During the political campaign, sometimes they sponsor almost all the candidates. Why? Because they want to sow in such a way that during whoever wins, they can reap from it. They already build relationships because they've invested in that person. But you don't even have to have resources to start investing in people. Sometimes the little support you give people, this positions you for a harvest later on. If you, for instance, now you help someone in their political career, chances are later when you come for, especially where in your area of competence, when you come for opportunities, of course they will consider what you bring to the table. And you might say, that sounds corrupt, that sounds unfair. But the truth is, we give, chances are most opportunities will go to people we know, especially when all things being equal, the price is equal, the expertise is equal. Some of these little things can play the biggest role. Sometimes, for instance, where they don't even know, when multiple people are pursuing the same opportunity, sometimes what distinguishes them can be, um, can simply be the work they've done on social media. So sometimes when two people are applying for something, someone that has a history in social media and similar stuffs like that, they have an edge. And then lastly, in positioning for world education, positioning by purpose. Now, the idea of purpose is that that is the best place that you fit into. It's the idea of going down into your authenticity, that you understand why you're here, you understand your strong why, you've embraced your tools, your uniqueness. Because positioning by purpose is one of the ways that you stand out. A lot of people are always struggling and competing for the same opportunities, but not many people stand out enough. People that have embraced purpose are the people that will stand out the most when opportunity comes calling. What is your purpose? What are your tools? People that have embraced their purpose, that has embraced their tools, do excel more than people that are trying to be like another person. They're trying to be a copycat. Your authenticity can make you stand out, and standing out is positioning in his own self. Then there are many people do what you do. Standing out can be treasure. It's one way to position yourself by people who notice you. There are many ways to position yourself. For instance, you can position yourself by visibility. The simple fact that you are so insistent on your branding, on your marketing, that simple visibility will give you an edge on others. You have to ask yourself, when you are thinking about positioning, before you even think about value, value is a given. But I'm telling you that you do not even need value to build wealth. You can ask, where can I position myself? Let me give you a practical example. There are people that are very good with relationships. That stuff. Value creation is not overrated, but then it is giving the entire picture when value creation is just one way to position yourself. When you think wealth creation, think positioning. Think positioning. This is the best thing I love to teach people and to talk teaching them about wealth creation. If you have your life ahead of you, ask yourself, where am I working to position myself in? For me, it's in finance. I've so much for the last year, for a lot of years, the vision has always been I want to position myself as a gateway to investment in Africa. When I look at myself, I said, I want to build myself in such a way that when people want to do business in Africa, they think of calling me, whether it's to facilitate their investment or to invest in my private equity. I think that's what I do. In fact, I've asked myself, how do I position myself so that this kind of people can see me? I think of, okay, starting a YouTube channel, being consistent in posting about investment, about educating people, about building a community. I want to grow to such a way that I position myself that even Google, if people recognize, if browse private equity in Africa or invest in Africa, my name pop up. And these things do not happen by coincidence. A lot of people are waiting for these things to happen organically. It does not happen organically. You have to take daily actions, intentional actions to position yourself for these opportunities. If I ask you, who bakes cake? Give me a recommendation. Chances are you will recommend someone that is always at your face with their product. Why? Because their visibility has positioned them in your mind, that they're the first name that comes to their mind or to your mind. If I say, where should I buy property? Chances are the person that has put themselves out there consistently about selling property, their name comes to mind. So position yourself in the mind of people, that when they meet you, they know that this is the person I go to for my legal problems. This is the person I go to for my investment problems. This is the person I go to for my tech problems. Positioning. Positioning is the smart way to do positioning. You can always go through these videos and make a list of them. Okay, what intentional steps am I taking to position myself in this way? You can also position yourself through mastery. That the top 1% are paid a little inch more, you become more noticeable. So sometimes don't be contented with average. Sometimes going for mastery makes you easier to stand out, to be seen. And as a matter of fact, you can get multiple times more reward than people that are on the average level. You must build mastery. Sometimes the way you position yourself and stand out is by going the extra mile. The way real estate companies operate is they do certain things. Go the extra mile. How can I serve my clients better? Creating your difference is one way to position yourself. There's this idea of blue ocean strategy. It is the idea of value creation. How can I provide ridiculous value to my customers at a cheaper price? It's as if you are pursuing areas that people have did not know opportunities exist. This is wealth creation for you. Ask yourself, what do I need to do to position myself in this circle of the economy where reward will come to me? It's the same principle behind branding. Why do Coca-Cola, despite being the biggest uh, soft drink company or refreshment company, why do they keep doing marketing? Or Red Bull? The simple idea is that they want to position themselves in your mind so that when the buying decision comes, you go for them. Think like them. I want to position myself. When you meet people, prepare. This is how I introduce myself when you network. Introduce and network yourself in such a way that people you become memorable in people's mind. Standard as they say, I want to do business with this person. I've seen business happen very fast like that. So position yourself for wealth creations. Next week we'll be talking about. Next week will be our last day for wealth creation. We're talking about vehicles for wealth creation. We talk about maybe something like the job and then investment in a sense. If you would like to learn how to position yourself properly or give yourself tools that will give you an advantage, I would advise you to join our business course starting April. So we have February and March to make your uh, to register. We are making it cheaper. We're making it accessible to everyone. I do not believe that an MBA education is only needed for people that have business degrees or people that have business. I believe that MBA education is needed by even people that have not that can simply read and write. You need to understand how your business works, understand risk management, understand the tools that are accessible to you. Our business school would last for just 3 months. We'll give you the core of it. We have incredible uh, resource persons. I'm excited to bring them to life. These are people that are experienced in corporate leadership. They are top consultants. They've worked with big companies. I want to bring them to you. We're going to talk about the investments. I'm so excited to